Hi everyone, it's me, Coffee Stitcher. It is the it's the first Sunday in June. It's the 4th? I don't know what day it is. I don't do dates. I don't do things. Yes, it is the 4th. How was everyone's week? Awesome, that's really great to hear. Well, we've got a handful of things today. We've got a lot of Q&A. Thank you, everyone, for the questions. No haul, but we do have a finish. We have a new start, and we have some regular WIP updates, as well as my monthly plans, which I just realized I forgot to grab those patterns, those WIPs. So hang on. And we're back. Sorry about that. There's going to be a really rough cut, and I apologize. So we've got my June goals. We've got June goals. We've got WIP updates, and we've got Q&A, and a finish and a new start. And a little bit of enabling. Tempting Tangles has another awesome SAL starting. That's a Halloween SAL. It's awesome. I've already signed up for it. All right, so we'll jump into the Q&A. We'll start with Donna Jenkins, who says she's stressing about using overdyed and variegated threads. What is the proper way to stitch with them to make the best use of the color changes / variations? I'm actually going to refer you back, but I'll do a little brief sort of summary. But I did an entire video about variegated threads. I want to say it's video 13. It's one of my very first ones. And I actually show a lot of different ways to use the variegated threads. Officially, you're supposed to complete each cross as you go. Most people, they kind of follow the way it needs to look. So if it's a tree, they'll stitch the trunk up and down like this. If it's grass, they'll stitch across. If it's a roof, they might stitch diagonally, but they always complete each X. Now, I will counter that by saying there are times where I won't complete each X, where I will do it, do one leg and then come back and do the other. And it's usually when I'm looking for a more, what's the right term, muddled look, where I do it a lot with like tree leaves, where I want it to look more natural, because when you look at trees, you don't have rows and rows of just like dark, 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 light, 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 dark, 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 dark. You don't have that. You have a whole lot mixed together. So I will, on some things, depending on the look I'm going for, I will mix up. I won't do it that way. But like I said, definitely check out my video number 13. Pretty sure it's number 13, because it shows it a lot more in depth. Donnie DL asks, do you know if there's a resource where you can check for what floss thread may be a suitable substitute for another? By this I mean in terms of style rather than color. For example, I know someone said before, using Petite Treasure Braid instead of one of the Krynics. I know you can use whatever to an extent, but I'm thinking more for when you're not trying to change the look, but just when the required thread type is not available. Making sure I understand your question. So if I don't, please correct me. There really isn't always going to be a good resource. There are a couple of onlines, and if you'll give me a sec, I can try and pull one up. Let's see, DMC 2 weeks dye work. There are some online conversion charts. Stitchesandthings.com and Stitcher's Village both offer a substitution charts for DMC to gas, DMC to weeks dye works. You can find some, but they're not perfect. There are some Gentle Arts I have that are similar to some weeks dye works, that are similar to some Glorianas, but there really isn't a good, hard and fast conversion. What I would suggest, if you have the ability to get to an LNS, do the comparisons in person. Or if you call, I think 123 Stitch, Silver Needle, if you call an LNS, a lot of them, or an online one, a lot of them will go, okay, well, here, let's see what we can do for you. The best resource, honestly, is probably the Facebook groups, because somebody out there will always have the color you need, and they'll be able to compare it to maybe something in their stash. Or sometimes, you'll even find some stitchers who are super generous, and they go, well, I used this for a project, I don't need it again, let me send you what I've got. So really, the Facebook groups are probably the best place. Nicole S. asks, how do you stitch so quickly? By using a frame? Do you stitch two-handed? I use a Q-snap. That's my primary thing, and I do use a lap stand, or a floor stand. I do not stitch two-handed. I will on occasion, but I find it super awkward to try and work with, to be totally honest, and I find it really hurts the shoulder for some reason. And I know probably if I did it more, it wouldn't hurt the shoulder, but I don't want to hurt, so I do it just the regular way. I just do it one-handed. So I have a lot of time to stitch. Alright, Kevin Tober. Yes, the Color and Cottons are for the Repro Sampler. He asks where I usually get my needle minders from. A couple of different places. The two that I go back to the most are Nifty Needle Nannies, and she's on Facebook, and No Name Needle Minders, which is the Queen of Starts group. I really like the domino ones that Kate does, and I use them fairly regularly, and she gets some really interesting sheets. And then for the ones like, I don't know if this actually came from Nifty Needle Nannies, but the ones that are like the rhinestone ones like these, I usually get from Nifty Needle Nannies. Nannies. I can talk. I also really like Delicious Threads. I've ordered from her a couple of times. Jin's pretty quick and pretty awesome. So those are probably my top three. He also was curious what I was reading, and I still haven't finished it, but I'm close. I'm a little over halfway. I've been reading Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. My goal this year was to try and read a book a month. I have so far not totally succeeded at that, but that's okay. As well as a video a month on my Oz channel, Garrett of Oz. So, I'm almost done with Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. I'm going to try and get that finished up this week so I can get my video done, and then start the Road to Oz. So, that's what I'm reading. Chantal Salvi, I believe I'm translating this correctly from French, but the Welcome Sal is by Deborah Dick of Tempting Tangles, and it can be found in her Etsy shop. Stitchy Panda would like to know who the designer is for the Alice Quaker. It's Quaker Fantasies by Aury T.M. And it's A-U-R-Y-T-M. Christine Tyler asks, how do I store my hand-dyed threads, and how do you keep track of the ones you already own? Good question. I have a couple of different storage methods. Well, not a couple, I have two. Ouch, and that was my elbow that I just signed. Okay, for ones like the Weeks Dye Works, the Karen collection that isn't Wildflowers, Dinky Dyes, anything that's not pre-cut and isn't ridiculously long in yardage, I will put on a bobbin. For my Gentle Arts, I put my Kryonic on a bobbin too. For Gentle Arts, the Wildflowers, anything or Classic Colorworks, anything pre-cut, or that trying to bobbinate would not be worth my time, I put into a plastic baggie with a note card, and on my note card, I write the brand, the color name, and I just use snack baggies, and then I lose my train of thought is what I do. And then I have a floss cabinet that I got from my grandmother, and I just have them stored in there. The top drawer is pretty much all Gentle Arts. The middle drawer is kind of everything else. And the other two are just too small, so they hold, like, perforated paper and things like that. To keep track of them, I use the X-Stitch app. It is available for the iPad, the iPhone. There's unfortunately not a desktop version, or I would be more likely to use the journal capabilities. Ooh, that's not what I wanted. But that's it. Nope. It's that one, the little blue X. So, and I do believe it is available on Google Play as well. So, that's what I use. Bindi Stitchy Michelle Garrett asks, if you could only stitch on one brand of floss forever, what would that be? Same with fabric, most preferred type and count, and why? One brand of floss, it would be Gentle Arts all the way. I love Gentle Arts. If I'm talking cottons. If I'm talking silks, I have a lot of... I don't think I could pick, but my favorite cotton floss really is the Gentle Arts. My most preferred type and count of fabric changes. For a long time, I was hardcore 32 count linen. Bah, all the way 32 count linen. But recently I've fallen in love with 28 count even weaves. Like Luganas and Joblins, and particularly Joblin, because it feels, oh, it's so nice and soft and thick, like a blanket, and I love it. So I don't know which I would choose. Probably the even weave over the linen, but I go back and forth. The Welcome Sal, I'm actually going back from thinking, because she also says she sees this as a pillow with TW trim with the little balls on it. I have switched again, and I'm going to go back to framing, because Deborah Dick very lovingly and awesomely featured my finish in her Stitchers Gallery on her website. And she put it, just because mine's not framed or finished off, she put a digital frame around it in this really nice purple color, and that's how I want to finish it. So that's how I'll finish it. Vicky asks, I've only stitched on Aida and would like to venture out and stitch on 28 count even weave. My question is, how do you know how many strands of floss to use and over how many squares? Is it always 2/2? Is it like that on linen also? I find that part confusing, which is why I haven't tried it yet. The thing that I was taught, and it really helped me when I was starting, is when you think of linen, the counts correlate to Aida. So 14 count Aida is 28 count linen or even weave. 16 count, 32 count. Generally, so on and so forth. You generally stitch 2/2 on 28 and 32 count. Some people will do 1/2 on 32 count. I generally don't, because I don't feel like it gives me enough coverage. Above 32 count, yes, I'll just use one strand. And the way to kind of remember it is you've got essentially what looks like, if you think of one square on Aida, translates to one tic-tac-toe board. So one group of 3 holes, so a group of 9 holes, 3 by 3. Kind of the easiest way to think about it. And that's kind of my thing. So I do 2 strands on 28 and 32, 1 strand on 36 and 40, and 35. I hope that helps. I know there are some very good YouTube tutorials out there. I believe Carolyn Mazzio has one, and maybe Vana has one. But I know there are several other that are very, very good. Lori Ciclone, I'm botching that again. I'm so sorry, Lori. Lori S. How does one get involved in SALs? When do they begin? And how does one know what project to purchase ahead of time? The best way to get involved, Stitch Mania, our SALs are themed sals. So instead of everyone works on this project together at a certain time, it's we have a theme. Say, you know, we do. Let's see. I'm trying to think. I'm blanking on what our sals are. I'm so terrible. I don't even know what sales are going on in my own group. We have so many, I just lose track. Okay, well, for instance, we do in September, we always do a Harry Potter sal. Where you work on we'll just take September, for example. We have the Return to Hogwarts sal on September 1st. And the idea is you work on something Harry Potter related on the 1st of September. In the month of September as well, we have our Tour de Designers 2017, Mirabilia and / Nora Corbett. So you work on, if you're going to participate in that sal, then some point during the month of September, work on a Mirabilia. We have the Back to School sal, which is for the entire month of August, work on something with an educational or school theme. So like alphabets, words, learning samplers, and more. Or because there is one that's a Soda Stitch that's literally a classroom. So we theme ours around that. Now, certain designers, like the Frosted Pumpkin or Tempting Tangles, will do a specific design that's intended as a stitch-along, where each month or Tempting Tangles is usually every 2 weeks, some of them are every month, you get a new part of it, and it's a mystery. Sometimes or sometimes not, but generally it's a mystery, and you find it out as you go along. The ones like those are usually, we always know Frosted Pumpkin, Clouds Factory, they're going to have a yearly stitch-along. They usually announce the theme in late October, early November. You can start work on it usually early, mid-January is when the first part comes out. So those to purchase ahead of time. They advertise them, they talk about it, everybody explodes and goes, oh my god, this is the new one, how exciting! Or, oh man, they're doing this, or, what, they're doing the same theme? That's crazy! Which hopefully will not happen again, because that was a little amusing at times, but it was not great. So that's just generally kind of it, and a lot of people will do, like, individual sals with each other. Like I was doing Night Before Christmas with my friend Erin, or I did Haunted Mansion with Sarah Stitches. So those are kind of internal, personal sals, but that's kind of how you find out about them. So the Facebook groups will do their own sals, but then designers will do their own that are generally design specific. So I hope that answers that question. Darla Beckerson, and I'll tell this for everyone else, asked, where do you find the New York Seltzer? It was discontinued. They brought it back about 2 years ago. I find it at Winco. But I know World Market also carries them. But if you go online, they do have a list of stores that carry it. And I will say it is vastly cheaper at Winco because it's 48 cents a bottle. Shelly LNH asks, is there a noticeable difference in a finished project between cotton and silk? And I'm assuming that silk could never be washed. Is that correct? There are sometimes noticeable differences. I notice it more with, when you do a project that's all silk versus when you mix the silks in. But generally silks have a little bit more of a sheen to them than a cotton will. And generally, no, they should not be washed. Kim Abear asks, what do you do with all your Stitchy Box countdown boxes? Do you sort them into your stash, like put the threads with your threads and fabric with your fabric, or do you keep them all together? I actually sort them into my stash. So flosses go in with my floss, fabric go into my fabrics, which I sort by color, and that's what I do with them. Amanda McSees asks, why don't I like full coverage? I mostly just get bored. I don't know why. I get bored with them. So that's why I don't. I mean, I always have the best intentions of starting them, but I get bored. I think it's because I don't see progress fast enough. I'm drinking chocolate milk today because I wanted chocolate milk. Alright, so that's the Q&A. We're on track for a longer video. Alright, so now we'll do the WIP updates for the week and the finish. So I'll show the finish at the end. I worked on Summer Sweetness, which is by Tempting Tangles, and I did a Gentle Arts conversion because Dinky Dyes is not readily available for me. And I'm doing it on 28 count 5 and dime Joblin by Ship's Manor. Ooh, we have a magnet problem. Okay. And I finished the top half of it. So there's some back stitching, there's some satin stitching to do, but I am waiting until the end because I don't want them to get damaged in a Q-snap clamp. So, and since in a couple of spots it's where since I'm using the overdyes, I don't want to end up with some weirdness, which could happen. So, there we go. I'm absolutely loving this. So, I will most likely have this finished in August. Because this will definitely be one of the pieces. We are, like I've said before, we're moving in July. But this will be one of the pieces that I will work on in July, with any luck. So, alright, so I worked on, and that was, the page finish was my goal for the month on it, so I've achieved my monthly goal, yay! Then I worked on, this week, I worked on Vintage Birds, which I'm going to be cutting it very close on the border, I see. But that's okay. So I finished the bird and the branch and the leaves. So I've got to do the flowers, and that'll be next month's goal. So I'm absolutely loving this. The design, it's so pretty. And continuing the bird theme, I am doing it on 32 count Wren by Picture This Plus. And then obviously my needle minder was Big Bird. So, my goal for next month, it will be, so that was my monthly goal, so these 3 flowers, and then the ones in between, and that one up there, and then maybe the birds down here. So, but we shall see. Alright. Then I started, because, I finished Welcome Sal, I started Freedom Sal. And I'm doing it with all Gentle Arts, and I'm doing it on 28 count Lazy River by Witcholt. There's the first part. I am changing the letters to red, white, and blue. And I'm about to work on part 2 after this video's done. And then Lord knows what I'll pick up after that. So, now I'll show the finish, and then I'll go into the rest of the goals for the month. So, my finish was Octopus's Garden. Ta-da! I changed the top waves and the bottom part here to Brethren Blue, and then this little bit and the waves up here are Blueberry, but otherwise everything else is left as is. I did this on 28 count Mint by Fabrics by LJ, and I really enjoyed working on this one. So I've got 2 more of the Beatles ones to do. I don't know when I will start them, but at some point I will do those. I've got Strawberry Fields and Yellow Submarine. So, but I had an absolute blast doing this one, so. I also have the garden ones. I've got the first, I think, 3, maybe 4 charts in that series to do. Alright. So, now we've got the rest of the month to go. So, monthly goals on... I'm just going to kind of grab them. On Storytime, which is my wedding sampler, I want to always call her Charlotte, even though I know Charlotte is the spider. So, I've got Fern and Wilbur and Charlotte to do here. So, and then I'm over halfway done now. So, in fact, this may be what I work on after Freedom Cell. Alright, so I've got that. I've got Halloween, and I did actually start working on this one a little bit, but it wasn't holding my attention, so I'm not even counting it as having worked on it much. But my goal is going to be... And remember, the picture on the front is the original version, not the Halloween version. But my goal is Adam and Eve and all the stuff right around them. Possibly the snake. I'm not sure yet. I may hold the snake until later. So this one's got probably 3 months worth of work left because it's got the alphabet then above it. And I'll probably split the alphabet in half, but we'll see. But I'm going to do them. And I promise, they aren't showing up too well on camera, but in person you can see them much better. My goal on Freedom Cell is to get 9 parts done, but of course, since I'm working on it in between, if I get through all my goals this month, then there may be more parts done. Fairy Tale Sampler, which I did start during Mania. Here it is. And it's on Crystal Helix from Picture This Plus. My goal is to just spend 2 days on it. Well, either 2 evenings or 1 weekend day on it. Because I don't really know where that'll get me, and I feel like if I can just do about 2 days on it, that'll give me a good idea of where I'm going, if that makes sense. So... got that. Alright. Then my goal on Longfellow's Round Tower, it's a little ambitious, I know, but actually, this is a good, weekend day project, is going to be a page finish. So it's going to be this part of the tower to about there. So, and I also need to go back and redo, or not redo per se, but add in my stitches that I didn't realize I was missing on the first 3. So that's where I'm at. And this one is super dense in terms of what all is being done, but once I get out of the tower, the castle itself, it'll go pretty quick, because words don't generally take all that long. So, but I love this piece. Tempting Tangles, Deborah has very quickly become one of my absolute favorite designers. Alright, on the Soda Stitch Little Mermaid, which I kind of showed y'all last week where I was going to go with it, but we're going to work up this side with the fish and the prince and the crab. So, although I may work on this after Freedom Part 2. I really don't know. There's a lot of things that I want to work on. So, and then after Little Mermaid is finished, I will start Wizard of Oz. Which I'm sure everyone is looking forward to seeing what I do with that. Alright, then we've got Pumpkin Passport. Russia is the goal. I'm not going to bother trying to show that one because everyone has probably seen that. And then finally, I will work on my Cinderella from Classic Colorworks. That's where I left off after Mania. So my goal is going to be to finish the tree and then do the top little border. And then probably next month I will just plan to finish it on out, or the next time I work on it. So like I said, my July goals, I'm only really going to make sure that I try and do Summer Sweetness and the July part of Passport. And then anything else that gets worked on is going to just be a bonus. So, yeah. Alright, so that's it for this week, everybody. I hope you all have a great week, and I will see you all next week.